This is episode 2 of the Martian War, a modern reimagining of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. Then came the night of the falling star. It streaked across the early morning sky over Winchester. A trail of flame cutting through the darkness fast, high, glowing with a strange green light. Hundreds of people must have seen it. Most thought it was just another meteor. A beautiful one, sure, but nothing to worry about. Even Denning, the top meteorite expert at the time, estimated it appeared nearly 100 miles up. He figured it crashed somewhere far east of his position. That was the end of it for most people, but not for Ogilvy. He was awake that morning, curious, obsessed. He'd seen the streak in the sky and was convinced something had fallen, something real, something worth finding. So before the sun was fully up, he went out toward the open land between Horsell, Ottershaw, and Woking, and he found it. Near the sand pits, where the land rolls open and quiet, a massive crater had been carved into the ground. Dirt and sand flung out in every direction. The impact was so powerful it left scorch marks and set the heather ablaze. Even from a mile away, you could see the smoke rising into the dawn. At the center of the blast was the thing, mostly buried in sand, surrounded by splinters of a fir tree. It had torn apart during descent. And partially uncovered, like a fossil from another age, was a gigantic cylinder, 30 yards across. Its surface was dark and dull, covered in a cracked, ash-like crust. Not round like a meteor, smooth, engineered, purposeful. Ogilvy stepped closer, confused and amazed. It wasn't just the size, it wasn't natural. It was man-made, but it was too hot to approach. Heat still radiated from its skin, even after its violent landing. And then he heard it. A soft, stirring sound from inside. He told himself it was just the metal cooling, stress cracks, heat fractures, but something about it didn't sit right. The sound wasn't random. It was movement, intentional. He stood at the edge of the crater, eyes fixed on the strange, scorched surface, when something shifted. A piece of the crust flaked off the end. Then another. And then he saw it. The end of the cylinder was rotating. Slow, silent, precise. A black mark near him had moved clockwise around the rim. Then he heard it metal grinding against metal. That's when it hit him. It was a machine. It was hollow. Something inside was trying to get out. Good God, he muttered. There's someone in there, people. Burning alive. Trying to escape. His brain connected the dots. The flashes from Mars, the silent missiles, the cylinder in the pit. He wanted to help. His instincts told him to run toward it, to help twist the top, to free whatever was inside. But the heat stopped him. He'd have burned his hands just touching it. Frozen with fear, he turned, scrambled up the crater, and ran for Woking. His mind raced. The time had to be around 6 a.m. The world was just starting to wake up. He tried to warn people, stopped a man with a wagon, but he looked insane, no hat, covered in sand. Wild-eyed, the man drove on. A pub worker thought he was a lunatic and tried to lock him inside. Only when he spotted Henderson, a journalist, did someone finally listen. "Henderson," he yelled across the fence. "Did you see the shooting star last night?" "Yeah," Henderson said. "It's here. It's landed, but it's not a meteor. It's a cylinder. And there's something inside." Henderson didn't believe him at first. But the urgency in Ogilvy's voice was enough. He dropped his spade, threw on a jacket, and followed. When they got back to the crater, the cylinder was still there, same position. But the sound inside had stopped. Now a thin ring of bright metal glinted where the top was beginning to separate from the base. They tapped on the surface, called out, nothing. They assumed whoever was inside had died or passed out. So they ran back toward town to get help. Covered in sand, sweating, desperate to be believed. It was just after 8 a.m. when people really started to notice. Boys, curious onlookers, men without jobs. All heading for the common to see what they were calling dead Martians. That was the rumor by then. I first heard about it from my newspaper boy around 8:45, and by the time I crossed the Ottershaw Bridge toward the sandpits, I already knew. The world had changed. They saw a shooting star. They thought it was harmless. But it wasn't a meteor. It was the first impact, and it won't be the last. New episodes drop every Sunday. Subscribe now and don't miss what's coming next. Episode 3. The cylinder begins to open.